participating in these protests. Think about the organisers of these protests. Well, actually, I'm going to think for you. These organisers will be battered to the bone by society, no matter what. If the protest didn't work and the outcome didn't turn out, then people would say, hey, that didn't work, now I'm being humiliated by people because I was a part of this protest. It's all because of you. But if it doesn't work, the people against the protesters will be annoyed. It's a lose-lose situation. We strongly believe that they should place restrictions on these protests, or else people will be caught in backlash. To my second point, noise pollution. Now, we care about our citizens. Struggling parents trying to put their baby to sleep just can't. With all the noise coming out from the front door, they can't do anything. The noise is just too loud. But let's talk about jobs. Everyone has one. But how can you do your job with thousands of people shouting outside? You just can't. The mass amount of noise pollution will affect everyone and their jobs. Protests are generally in the city, where everyone works, and there are tons of apartments. Now, all these people will be affected in a negative way. If restrictions are placed, it won't affect anyone's work life. Now, why is this true? People in apartments can get very annoyed at their noise outside. And grandparents in nursing homes, they can't do anything with the noise outside. Many people need to work, but if there's noise, not many people would be able to work, especially in these crowded areas like the city. More people would be unable to work from the amount of noise, or even just get distracted for a minute or two. But that still affects their work. Now, parents can get kids to, if there's no protests and no noise outside, parents can get kids to sleep without any distractions. It'll be way easier. People can work without getting distracted from any noise. Thank you for listening.
I thank the second speaker for the negative side of their speech. Please make welcome the third speaker for the affirmative side to conclude their team's debate.
In this debate, I've identified two main points of contention: the safety and convenience of citizens and the value of freedom of speech. I firmly believe that we have won both these points and the debate as a whole. That our team believes that governments should never place restrictions on non-violent protests, and this is why we have won both points. The opposition said that unregulated protests would interrupt daily life, and yes, it's true. But in a perfect world, people could both advocate for what they believe in and still be part of and still do things. But unfortunately, this is not the reality. For actual social and political justice to be enacted, some individuals may not get what they want or what is easiest for them. People will need to endure discomfort for change to occur. Additionally, we weigh freedom of speech and expression over convenience of citizens. This is also true to the opposition's point of noise pollution. There are other alternatives. Protests will, even with regulation, protests will still occur where there is a large populace of citizens. That's the only way that to spread awareness of a topic. People will still be affected whether it is controlled or not. And the second speaker and the opposition said that, rebutted our team, that my second speaker's point didn't make sense and that the Trump bias is irrelevant. But my second speaker meant that when governments are allowed to restrict political protest, bias will ultimately seep in through the cracks, and the whole point of protest will not be there. And in dictatorships, for example, in dictatorships or countries where freedom of speech is not a readily available option, when governments are allowed to restrict protests, then the entire idea of differing opinions and enacting change enacting social and political change is not there. And the opposition said that disaster can strike and people are more safe without worry of danger. But this is definitely not a given, and definitely won't be negated with restrictions placed. With the unspecified restrictions, maybe there are barriers or specific roads. People can still be heard. Yes. My first speaker showed us the disastrous effects of limitations on the freedom of speech. She also showed that nonviolent protests shouldn't come at the expense of your rights, as it should be completed within the bounds of the law. My second speaker highlighted the importance of one's freedom of expression in a democratic nation like Australia, and unnecessary restrictions hinder those integral rights. Ultimately, we believe that governments should not place restrictions on protests and be upon the space.
I thank the third speaker for the affirmative side for their speech. Please make welcome the third speaker for the negative side to conclude their team's case.
First, I would like to offer some rebuttal, and then I will conclude my presentation. So, first of all, the second speaker has stated that can still be heard, but because they're in different places and affecting different people, there are different places that can make this sort of voice get heard better and more sustainably. They also said that in certain circumstances, police have come to shut down these protests, but this is clearly because something has come off a bit wrong in this sort of protest, which is not what you're actually kind of looking for in these sort of protests, and which is why that this is actually a good thing if we added restrictions so that people wouldn't actually be scared if people like police and stuff like that are trying to come to stop them. But they're obviously, as I've stated before, they're clearly coming to be stopped because they've done something that is not correct. They have also said that with the freedom of speech, breaking rules of rights if they can't do certain things. But what they are saying should not be said if they are breaking these certain rules of rights. And they should also be aware that consequences will be held if these sorts of things are bad. And if they do continue, that they will be held accountable of these sorts of actions. Next, the third speaker has stated that we aren't talking about disaster. We are talking about things that can happen when people are too strong-held, and we are likely. They have also stated that people will have discomfort for change, and they'll have discomfort, but then change will appear. But because we have stated that this is discomforting them, then this is they also stated that this will occur in large areas of citizens. Like, yes, obviously this will occur in large areas of citizens, but this is obviously an incorrect place to be having them if they are affecting the way that people can work and just get on with their life, and especially because not many people want to be doing these sort of things where people are yelling when they're just trying to get their work done. And also they said that the whole point of protests is will not be there if these sort of things are taken away. But this is clearly incorrect, because this is not going to, we're not trying to make them, if they're having this protest, then most people aren't going to be really going on with this, because this is going to be affecting them, so they're not really going to care in these sorts of ways. The third speaker has stated that there will be annoyance, but yes, this team is posing that we protest the city to annoy the most people, but if we don't, then less people in areas can annoy less people. They've also stated that people can still be hurt. But this is obvious, and this is why the restrictions are getting placed, because if people are getting hurt, then we can add restrictions to make sure that these people are not getting hurt, and which is why the adding the restrictions are a good thing. To summarise, my first speaker has stated about safety, government assertion and how it interrupts daily life, and my second speaker has talked about backlash and noise pollution.
Thank you to both teams. The panel will now retire. Whilst they're deliberating, I'd like to invite the Wattle Secretary, Riley, to entertain us with his address.
Hello everyone. First of all, I'm sorry I couldn't be a part to watch the debate, but in the space of deliberation, as is tradition in Grand Final, we'll be typically hearing some speeches. I'll be doing the first. For those who don't know me, I'm Riley. I'm the secretary at Wattle. In the second time slot, I think we'll be hearing from Luke, the chair of our board, and then you'll be hearing from Stan Jolly, who is one of our state team coaches. So first, I would like to mention that once the deliberation is all finished, we have some refreshments outside, tea and coffee like there was before, but also some food has rocked up, so please feel free to grab some because there's actually quite a lot of it. It was a really welcome surprise. But before that begins, a few thank yous are in order. So the first is, without question, thanking the huge amount of support Wattle has received across the board from so many different people. I would like to thank everyone, but the list is so long we would be here until 11, but some particular thank yous are in order. Firstly, to our wonderful team of exec, to Redwan, our CAO, Michelle, our head of operations, and Kelly, who was meant to be delivering this speech but had to judge. I will say the three of them have carried Wattle on their shoulders this year, oftentimes with far less support than we would like. A little fun fact for anyone who's curious, which is probably no one, but Wattle is still at only half of the numbers we had before the lovely year of 2020, and amazing people like Kelly have done so much to make sure that that impact is not felt, because it used to be a very different experience running Wattle. You used to have a massive team of people and a lot of amazing people like Michelle, Kelly, and Redwan. Redwan, you are here, so give everyone a wave. That's done so much. But I also think that this extends to all of the volunteers. I know I sold Wattle to a lot of you volunteers as the most amazing job ever. I know that sometimes it isn't that, but everyone has been absolutely amazing. And I would like to give a special thanks to two people, Eva Hill and Lockie, who on multiple occasions zoomed in from Melbourne because we had an ad shortage. But I then would like to next thank the plethora of coordinators who have been insurmountable in facilitating this year. I would like to thank them all one by one, but again, for time's sake, I will just limit it to our host schools. So thank you to Shenton, Perth College, Mount Lawley Senior High School, St. Stephen's, Christchurch, Hale, and Perth Modern. For the plethora of coordinators I wasn't able to thank, particularly for the Guildford coordinators in the back, you guys have been so helpful. You make things like this happen. And is Martin here? Oh, perfect. You as well have made it such an easy experience this year for us. We know it hasn't always been perfect, but with the amount of the work you guys put in, you make it such an amazing experience. So thank you so much. Finally, I would like to thank our state team coaches. Neither of them are in the room, and you will be hearing them from them later, so I won't steal their thunder, but I will say that this year Stan and Heath have led WA to pretty much unprecedented success on a national and even international level. So I did then, after that, ask Kelly what else I should include in this speech, to which the response from Kelly was talk about our new regional competition, which, by the way, is geographically the largest competition in Australia outside of the national competition. But in classic me fashion, I'm ignoring Kelly's advice and chosen to talk about something completely different, which is why I think now more than ever, debating is important. I'm not saying this because we want more sign-ups to our British parliamentary comp. In fact, we have more sign-ups than we have in any year recently, which means I think we literally cannot have more sign-ups. But to get back to the point, I want to note that in recent years, the skills debating teaches us has become even more in demand. When I was writing this speech in my uni library, I will be honest, this morning, I could see at least 10 people on ChatGPT, including 2 people just pasting an essay question and then copy and pasting the entire thing into a Word document. For the teachers in the room, I'm sure all of you have encountered times when students simply don't think for themselves and turn to ChatGPT or whatever AI is popular at the day. And I don't want to come across as an anti-technology person who wants to bash every computer and send us back to the Stone Age, but I will say AI presents a really serious threat to the ability for people to think for themselves. And I think debating is an incredibly powerful tool in this world about going against that. I'm not going to be egotistical and say debating is the solution to the AI crisis in education, but I will say it is a really important space to provide skills and provide education in a way that AI simply can't replicate. What you will see tonight, and have seen partially, isn't just 18 incredibly talented debaters, but also 18 students who you know can go into the world with an increasingly rare ability to think for themselves, not only critically, but also independently, and consider perspectives outside of their own to justify their own beliefs and question the beliefs of others in a way that doesn't just resort to character attacks and bad faith. So, this is not to say we haven't had students using AI. I've caught multiple teams. We'd like to think that we've caught them all, but you and I both know that's just not true. But regardless of that, I want to say that debating offers such an important skill set in critical, independent, and diverse thinking and intellectual flexibility. And these are skills that should be increasingly treasured, especially in an uncertain world like our current one. So please, thank you everyone. On that note, enjoy the food, enjoy the debates even more. The deliberation will be happening shortly. Thank you everyone. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves. I'm not sure how long the delib will take, but they will be here shortly.
Oh wait, sorry. Shit.
I don't either. I just thought it'd be really funny.
Hello everyone, thank you for coming. Can we please offer a round of applause to both speakers? The way I'm going to structure this oral adjudication is starting with some general comments about the debate, then I'm going to announce who won, and then I'm going to provide a brief explanation of why we thought the winning team did win. But I will preface that by saying, if you've watched any waddled-in rounds, this OA is going to be substantially less detailed than past OAs have been, just for the sake of time. But I promise we were analytically rigorous in our discussion to make sure the outcome of this debate is fair. Okay, with that said, the panel thought this is an incredibly high-quality debate, and it was a very close debate as well. We thought both teams dealt incredibly well with what is a very topical issue, and provided strong and nuanced perspectives and explanations of why people engage in protest, how the public responds to protest, and how different governments are likely to engage in protest. With that said, we thought this is a very, very close debate and came to a split decision with the chair and the majority and gave this debate to side affirmative. And the reason that we came to this decision was firstly, we think affirmative was able to prove that restrictions on protests undermine the efficacy and participation in these protests for a range of reasons, which they explain leads to meaningful change. They also prove that governments often often have biases that restrict particular types of protests and minimizes the influence and impact of protests that are particularly antagonistic to the government's interests. We do think that negative proves to some extent that restrictions prevent backlash and make people feel safer in participating, but we think that broadly affirmative is able to explain to a greater extent the impact of their mechanisms as to the efficacy of protest on the movement itself, and also that freedom of speech is principally important, which is why we think affirmative wins on proving that protests are better without restrictions. The second clash we saw appearing in the debate was the one of convenience, and we do think that negative proves that these restrictions prevent a lot of inconvenience, productivity issues, and safety problems. We do think, however, affirmative is able to explain why safety issues are likely to exist on both sides of the debate. There are small inconveniences for civilians on both sides of the debate, which mitigates the size of this harm to some extent. And we also think they're able to co-opt this and say that this makes people more aware of the social issue that is being protested, and that's a reason that you should care about the efficacy of protest slightly higher than the average person's comfort with that particular protest. That's the brief on why we thought side affirmative won. If either team or coaches or parents would like a more detailed explanation, please feel free to approach any of the 7 of the panelists after the debate. And I'll congratulations to both teams. Okay, debating is obviously a team activity, but we do like to acknowledge the individual contributions made by particular speakers. So as a result, we'd like to award a Best Speaker award for the speaker that we felt made the strongest contribution to the debate. And in this debate, we thought that was Bernard Bernard. The members of side negative, please come to accept your medals.
Focus is really good, so that. Yep. You can go both, it's fine. Yeah, they could. Yes. Let's stand together. Everyone, yeah. Thank you.
And if the members of side affirmative, please accept your
Can you guys squish this way a little bit? This way, this way.
Thank you again, everyone, for a fantastic debate. We'll be having a short break before the next debate, which should be starting at about 6:40. You all are welcome. There are refreshments outside. You can go have a bathroom break. But please be back in here by 6:40.
run. We take my space. It's
No, I
like
can't because this is a far away.
you don't have a smaller list. You have a smaller list.
I know, but like I don't have enough time to change.
Then now change. You can't change for the next one.
I'm Victoria Hilton. I just want to thank you so much.
I'll just leave that.
In some ways, she needed Look, I know much time you had to
That's looking like a standard. Oh. Gold? For the teams that I coach. I love number scoring. Yeah, whose idea was it to put COVID-19?
Not being like such a amazing debate, obviously.
Amazing debate. That's that episode 76. Okay.
See you guys.
See ya, enjoy.
I think it's a pretty solid I think it was up in the They're replacing Facebook.
I'll be getting a photo with your organizer. Oh, make sure you get a solo one as well. I want to see all your
The curtains open. You guys aren't using it.
Okay, I'm inside the theater. Yeah.
Hi, how are you? I don't really know. I've got...
Can we sit in the middle?
Having fun?
I am just making a start on.
We have the cherry script, did you say?
Michelle.
I had to write it out my head. That's true. Yeah, except where I put the start with us. Yeah, please. So this one is kind of a different. 6 minutes, right? Yeah. So, yeah. All right. Yeah. Someone else is on there. Do I need to be marked up? Can I just do it from here? Yeah, but you don't have to do that between each speakers. Yeah, just for the start. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Who do I look for? Jamie, and this thing at the end, we have someone else who does speech. I don't actually know if I can get something. Oh, yeah, okay. I mean, I think Stan's doing one from do then we do something.
Wait, Stan, are you doing this?
Yeah, for state team.
Okay. Do you know when you're doing it?
I think I'm doing it after this term.
Oh,
And then Luke's doing it after seniors.
Stan, am I before or after Lucas? After.
I think after, yeah.
You guys are just on that thing.
Good luck, Mia.
Is it Ashita?
Ashita.
Ashita?
Ashita.
Ashita?
Yeah.
Who's the team?
Yeah. Kind of on this, because you can see them pretty much Can I take a photo of
Guys, just one minute. I'm like live streaming from YouTube right here. So, okay. Hope that this does not fall.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, it's risky. Please, don't do it.
I need to charge my phone, so.
How much is the charge?
It'll be fine. It's got 18%.
Ah.
It'll be fine though. I just can't move it around.
If it's charging, just increase the brightness, I guess, a little bit, because obviously it's charging. Is it actually charging?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's charging, good.
Everyone, don't worry about it. Just let me handle it.
I'm not worrying. Can we use this as like a... No, wait.
Okay, that works.
It's all about tactics. Is that a mess?
She likes busy and she was busy because she was like
Oh, that's
teach them.
Welcome to this debate, which is a part of the Western Australian Debating League's 2025 Schools Debating Championship. We're going to start by acknowledging that this debate takes place on Wajak Noongar Boodja, and we pay our respects to elders past and present. Please be aware that there is no photography or recording allowed in this debate. Before we begin tonight's debate, I first want to extend a huge congratulations to both teams. Making it to the grand final is no easy feat, and it's a testament to all of the hard work and dedication of the students before us. With that then being said, I'd like to introduce the teams participating in tonight's debate. The affirmative team is going to be taken by St Hilda's, and the negative team is going to be taken by Perth Mod. The topic for tonight's debate reads that this House believes that all police officers should be required to hold a relevant bachelor's degree, and an info slide accompanying it, which reads, for the purposes of this debate, a relevant bachelor's degree would be limited to social work, community services, psychology, national security/defence, and criminology. Debaters are going to speak for 5 minutes with a single warning bell at 1 and 4 and a final double bell at 5 minutes. Between the first and fourth minute, members of the opposing team may stand to offer points of information which the speaker may either accept or decline. Speakers are welcome to use their own devices to time their speeches, noting that devices with internet capabilities must be both on silent and aeroplane mode. At the end of this debate, the adjudicator is going to provide a general adjudication, and they're going to be available to discuss the debate with individual speakers. Parents and teachers are asked to please refrain from approaching the adjudicator until the speaker's questions have been answered. We have a wonderful panel adjudicating tonight's debate, with our panellists for the junior round being Kelly, Mason, Elliot, Levi, Meg and Ashita, and our chair is going to be Jamie. Now that our panel has been introduced, please make welcome the first speaker of the affirmative team to open their team's panel.
So I'll begin with some setup. A bachelor's degree is typically 3 years, and it's not very hard. Historically, everyone has completed one. They teach skills like reading comprehension, writing, communication, and how to work in the real world. Police officers currently go through a training program which is largely focused on physical ability and strength. For example, testing to check that their muscle to fat ratio is adequate. They are typically white, young, and male, stereotypically. They complete tasks like collecting evidence, collecting statements, writing reports, and act as security for large events, etc. Their roles, like investigator, are only filled by people who have been a lower rank of police officers, and there are higher amounts of stigma towards them currently. And first point. Police officers often collect evidence poorly due to the fact that their training widely encompasses physical fitness, meaning that they have little to no experience in terms of the court system. This leads to a harder and longer trial process, on top of the fact that the court system is already an expensive and complicated process. If police officers are trained through bachelor degrees, specifically criminology and social work, they are more likely to collect evidence and take witness statements in not only more effective manner, but in a more efficient one. This benefits both the officers in terms of their understanding of the job, but also the community as they can go through the court system in an efficient way, knowing they are displayed properly and fairly. I will take this point now.
What practical skills does a degree in national security and defence do for a police officer that's going to be doing traffic stops most of the time?
Well, the thing is, if a police officer wants to go into national security, they have those skills already, but the because they have so many different, all those wide different skills, all this criminology, those kind of things that they put in the info slide, they have a wide range. So if they don't want to do that, like that part, they have those kinds of skills that can be put into other types of police officing and future jobs. A bachelor's degree is not extremely hard. Traditionally, everyone had one, and it is modernising most people do. If people aspiring to be police officers cannot pass one, that means that they do not have skills like reading comprehension, writing, and communication, which means that they will not be able to efficiently do tasks like writing reports, collecting evidence, collecting statements, etc., which are reliant on these skills. By having them do a bachelor's degree first, we minimise the amount of people in the industry who lack these skills, reducing inefficiently and providing better quality work. This links back to the court system. People who have gained more life experience are going to do lots of aspects of their job better. For example, university is when a lot of people learn to write an email properly, learn time management, etc. This increases efficiency as they're not learning these skills for the first time in their lives as working adults who are in very important positions. If they do a university degree as well as training, this diversifies their knowledge. It means that they have fitness skills and a practical police skills, also knowledge of these systems they're working in, etc. To weigh, in terms of vulnerability, the people associated with the police are often in really vulnerable positions, whether they're accused or someone associated with the crime. For example, people whose family has been harmed by crime, minorities involved in crime, etc. Therefore, it is really important they get police who are efficient. In terms of scale, everyone is affected by the standard of the police. In terms of depth, anyone who is associated with the police is associated with it for a serious reason. A second point. Through this relevant bachelor's degree, police officers develop a notable sense of empathy, especially since they are heavily focused on communication and real-world issues and building a sense of community. This would visibly reduce corruption in the police force, as the officers would not only have an understanding about their physical health, but also mental health, an extremely important factor in today's day and age. Because the police will be more knowledgeable, as I have already proved, the public is less likely to stigmatise the police, which my second speaker will further touch on, as they feel the police will have a wider range of skills and are more reliable. This leads to diversification in the police force, which means they are less likely to be corrupt, because they go into the force without the typical ideology of what policing is. This is important as the vulnerable part of communities such as the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community are heavily affected by police, unfortunately, through bias and corruption, since they are constantly being targeted. This weighs highly on both depth and scale. From their perspective, this is a large issue as it is evident that it benefits this minority as they can be understood better. This is true for other minorities too, showing that this is important on a wider scale. Thank you.
I'd now like to invite the first negative speaker to start their team's case.
So what do we want? Sorry. Is it this? Oh, sorry.
The mics are like not on.
Oh, well, good. So what do we want our police force to look like? We want them to be compassionate, we want them to be diverse, and we want them to be engaged with the community. And we also want them to be relatable to the average person and able to understand and empathize with wide community struggles. In Firm as well, we would have a police force that has an elite education, making them less relatable to the various citizens that they are trying to help. So what do these bachelor degrees look like? They are A, not applicable to their everyday scenarios that police officers are facing. And also, they take 3 to 4 years, making it a very long process. And these degrees are also highly specialized. They aren't practical. And now people just have so much knowledge in one specific or niche area, which isn't necessary as a police officer. Now I will move on to rebuttal. The first speaker of the affirmative team stated that bachelor's degrees build compassion and empathy within police officers. Well, I'd like to say there were a variety of bachelor's degrees that you could take, which teach a wide range of things. For example, if you were taking a bachelor's degree in community service, you were likely already compassionate in the first place. And I would like to pose a question. How would taking a course like psychology or criminal defense build empathy in society? If we want all these people to learn empathy or these certain skills, we should integrate it into the current system instead of just having one person learn this skill and the other learn that skill in a very deep sort of sense. This also impacts like them saying specific benefits of degrees such as criminology and how this would help the police force in general. But what if they do decide to take a bachelor's degree in like another sector as stated on the topic slip? Then we don't have the whole force fully like knowledgeable about these specific skills that I will expand on later. Now I will move on to my substantive. Firstly, the point that police officers all holding seemingly relevant bachelor's degrees doesn't actually solve the main issue of this debate of improving our police force, and how I will also talk about how implementing this further reduces diversity in our police force. Firstly, the point that a university degree isn't as effective at teaching police officers the soft skills that they need to contribute effectively in society, which directly impacts the issue that we are trying to address of improving the quality of our police force. Currently, university degrees look like spending 3 to 4 years of specializing in specific areas that are seemingly deemed important to being successful as a police officer. However, the skills that the police force are lacking right now, such as compassion, empathy, ability to think on your feet, and more, are not skills that sitting, wasting time, money, and resources on a seemingly relevant bachelor's degree would solve. And some police officers already have a degree if they are very interested in the skill. It's not mutually exclusive. These degrees aren't tailored to actually functioning as an effective police officer. For example, say a police officer spends years achieving a bachelor's degree in, say, psychology. How is this practical in their real life as a police officer, where they have to think on their feet, where they have to be compassionate, where they have to support their force? And even if the skills that they were learning were relevant in a real-world scenario, why do only some police officers have to learn some certain skills? To solve the main issue of this debate and to improve our police force in general, where we want our police officers to be compassionate, we want them to be engaged with our community, how would, say, a community service degree and a criminology degree even have in common, I'll take that later, thank you, which means that certain members of our force are lacking skills that we say are all important. If all of these skills are so important, why are certain people studying certain degrees, which means that other people won't have as much knowledge in that? And hypothetically, if we wanted a better way to do this, we would integrate these important hard skills in the police academy itself. And why is this better? Say an officer received a bachelor's degree in psychology and they are ultra specialized in this field, and we deem this important for all police officers to be productive members of society. Shouldn't we just add this to the existing police academy where all the police officers are being taught these necessary skills? This would also involve less resources. And moving on to my second point, and even if our police force per se got these necessary skills that they needed as a police officer, that they couldn't have gotten from any other method, we still don't get the people that we want in the police force. We will have less diversity in the police force. So what do you need for a university degree even globally? You need money, you need resources, and you need time, which further streamlines our police force, where even more members are now highly privileged. It's not just the fact that they are more interested in being a police officer, it goes directly to socioeconomic privilege. This further entrenches systematic inequalities present in our society, which impacts our general minority as we have less members representing them. And other people, having a streamlined police force with similar socioeconomic standing won't be as sensitive to minority community struggles. These 2 points and what my next speakers will talk to you about is why I am proud to negate. Thank you.
I now welcome the second affirmative to continue their team's case.
Alright, so I'm going to start with some points of rebuttal. So for one thing, the opposition has said that these degrees these certain degrees that have been proposed are like highly specialised and not practical for the everyday work of a police officer. So for one thing, there is a reason the Inverse Light has varied.
Hello everyone, thank you for attending the grand final. Can we give a round of applause to these people? So for those For those of you who don't know me, my name is Stan. This year I was one of two coaches of the state debating team, so I've been invited to famously self-promote the trials process and the squad process, but please listen to what I say because I think it's an incredibly valuable process and I think I'll encourage everyone to participate in it. Okay, so we begin the process with trials at the beginning of the year. So this is a process that occurs over the weekend. We have 6 debates and students will have the opportunity to receive feedback from individual adjudicators. This year we had 50 students attend, and we noticed that over the course of this process, every student who was involved did improve their abilities quite dramatically. That is through the process of receiving individual feedback, but importantly, the process of being able to debate with peers from different schools and with peers of different age groups. Obviously, not everybody progresses to the next stage, which would be odd, but still, we would know it's a fantastic opportunity for students to debate with others and also receive that individual feedback. And I would note that given that you do 6 debates, that's more debates than most people would do throughout the entire school's debating process. So the amount you improve over 1 weekend is comparable to the amount we would otherwise improve over multiple months. So I would strongly encourage everyone in this room to turn up to trials this year. I'll also note we're doing trials presumably now at the end of this year. I'd encourage everyone to turn up, and if you do have children who are interested in debating, that you'd encourage them to turn up as well. Some fantastic development opportunities. From trials, we then select our state squad, which this year was a group of 14 students who dedicate a lot of time. They dedicate their Sundays and their Monday evenings this year to training with us and doing development workshops over the course of a month. And again, this year we had a very talented group of students, and we noticed again that they improved quite significantly over the course of this process. They were very kind and very receptive to feedback and accepted it with a lot of humility. We noticed as a result of that they became incredibly talented debaters over the course of that process. This year we are planning on increasing the size of the squad to about 16 to 20 students, and also increasing the amount of time the squad takes place over, so that you have less of a time commitment each week. So hopefully that makes it more accessible to students, particularly who want to focus more on their studies and school and stuff like that. Okay, and then from the squad process, we obviously select our state debating team. This year we selected Tori, Lucas, Jack, and Daniel. And again, despite having such busy schedules, all of them made a huge commitment to the team process, turned up every week, 2 times a week, for hours for every training session. And then after that, we had the opportunity to go to Sydney for the National Schools Debating Championship. And after winning 5 of their 7 debates at the championships, they made it to the minor semi, which is the first time WA has broken at that tournament since 2020. So it's a very huge achievement. And it goes without saying that we're all very proud of them and the effort that they put into that. And at the end of that process, we were also very fortunate to have one of our students, Victoria, make it onto the Australian squad process, and then make it onto the Australian team, where she then competed at the World Schools Debating Championship in Panama, which she will speak to shortly. At the end of that, I would just like to thank all of the students who are involved in the trials and the squad and the team process for the time that they put in, their families for supporting them throughout the process. I'd like to thank Fatima and Jamie, who adjudicated with us at the National Schools Debating Competition, and my fellow coach, Keith Muller, put a lot of effort into coaching the students as well. And if you take anything out of that spiel, it would effectively be to please try it, because it's a fantastic opportunity from start to the end. And regardless of how far you make it into the process, I can guarantee that you will improve a lot over the course of it. You don't need to take my word for it, because luckily we have Lucas, who was on the team himself, who will be coming to give some words of wisdom about his experience, and then we'll have Tori who will be speaking to her experience at Worlds briefly. So thank you.
Thank you, Stanley. The state process this year was undoubtedly one of the best experiences of my life, the absolute highlight of my year, and a fantastic opportunity both developmentally and also just in terms of enjoyment. From a developmental perspective, as Stan's really touched on, the state process really creates the perfect storm for you to become the best debater you can. At NSUC, of course, you get to see the best debaters in the country, learn from them, compete against them, and that's so amazing. But even throughout the initial trial, the squad process, the team process, you're constantly being put up against WA's best talent. You're constantly in an environment where you're being pushed and you're being challenged. And that is, of course,